Bay Area brawler Skylar Greenberg, and your Colonial Champion Sean McCourt. Welcome to the Court-Martail Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, holy gavoli, they're doing a show for no reason? I know! How crazy is it? But that's the trick. There's always a reason to listen to the Court-Martail Podcast. I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, here today to talk about a cavalcade of things on this podcast newly released. Well, actually not released. I decided to not renew the previous podcast, so it's just going and doing its own thing. But we have a lot of future endeavors to talk about, namely our own. And we have talk about the past, the present, and the future. And luckily, we do not need to be woken up in the middle of the night by 3 ghosts, because if we ended up being the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, the little trio of media moguls the 3 of us have become would be an absolute nightmare for whoever Mr. Scrooge ended up being. Turns out to be Triple H on this particular day, but I am not alone to talk about whatever miscellaneous ramblings I've been going on in its intro, because I have a friend of mine to talk about right here, right now. It is not the man of the hour, the man of the power, too sweet to be sour. It is not the Bay Area brawler Skylar Greenberg, although we appreciate him dearly as he is getting his head reattached from 2, count 'em, 2 adult league hockey games that included beer for some reason. Instead, I've got a man who looks at beer and goes, "I'm a monster," and then starts screeching, namely in the Ree fashion. But speaking of Ree, there's no one better to repeat everything I've just said than this man right here, JoshAgeddon. Please put me out of my misery.
Well, greetings everyone here at the Court-Martail Podcast. It is I, JoshAgeddon, your resident teetotaler, if you will. Also, between the 3 of us, Skylar is definitely Scrooge. And if he was one of the 3 ghosts, okay, you would absolutely be Christmas Present, because I'm thinking of the 70s version of the Christmas Carol, where the Christmas Present dude was the very jolly, talkative dude, but if you piss him off, he'll cut a promo on you.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, that's you. I think I would be Christmas Future, because I'm very creepy sometimes.
Well, you make good vignettes. I think that you would just sit in the corner and just post videos. And just
Yes. As I'm one to do.
Yes.
Skylar does not work for Christmas past, though.
Well, he's like, I can bring you to the past and show you where you're messing up. I think Skylar does that quite often.
Sure.
I think he can totally do that.
Also, we're talking about this in June.
That's right. Well, hey, this is the time to be speaking. You know what? It's right around the corner. The capitalist wheel continues to rotate over and over. The wheel is turning, and it doesn't slow down. And you can't let go, and you can't hold on. You can't hold back, and you can't stand still. If the thunder don't get you, then the lightning will. And now that we're past the 3-minute mark, we could say whatever it is we want. So you should be thanking me for the filibuster that I've put us in. So now we can profane the day away.
Sean, speaking of capitalism and just businesses being businesses, what a segue into one of our topics on this episode.
Well, let's get right into it. Now, this is not necessarily a news of the week, even though this is technically news, because I don't want to take Skylar's thunder, because we don't have any additional news. So instead, we're going to do a different intro for this segment. Roll it! So you've been released by the WWE. Best of luck in your future endeavors. You've been released by the WWE. And now you gotta go wrestle for Impact. You've been released by the WWE. Best of luck in your future endeavors. You've been released by the WWE. Damn, and now what? Ow! You gotta wrestle for Impact. Impact. And you know that pay gon' be so low.
God, I've missed that intro.
I bet you thought I didn't have that anymore, but here it is. As we have had, and that man right there with all of those shit-eating grids you just saw has been getting a lot of heat And
Yeah.
none of it's really been his fault, at least in the way of my estimation. But we're going to talk about the most recent set of these releases. Now, I'm only going to talk about the at least at first, the most recent 2 or 3 that we have seen, and I've heard some rumors about other ones on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one in particular that has really ruffled the Jimmies. The little Jimmies, in fact.
Ain't that the truth?
Of the IWC, and that is R-Truth. Now, I won't lie to you, JoshAgeddon. I was surprised.
Me too.
I was genuinely surprised that R-Truth was, but he was not fired. I've heard everyone I don't know why it's going around that he was fired. TKO decided not to renew R-Truth's contract, and R-Truth said, okay, and that's what happened. As far as we know, we don't have any additional details about negotiations or anything like that, and that's not really what I want to talk about. As R-Truth is certainly someone who I assumed, considering that Brain Rot USA I thought was only really functionable in the WWE, that he was going to be a lifer.
Me too.
But the dude is 53. He has nothing left to prove.
Also, I did a teeny bit of research before this. Do you know what his net worth is?
Probably pretty sizable considering how much Vince liked him.
$3 million.
Yeah. I think he's doing pretty good for himself.
A lot of the people whining and, whining and then whining on top of their whining. So many people should just start opening wineries. The dude
the wine
not
would taste like
hurting for
total
cash.
shit. It would not. They would degrade the wine business.
Yeah,
if Smart started making wine, it would not taste good.
Ron Killings absolutely made a killing and is not exactly hurting for cash. I'm sure that when he got the news, he went home to his mansion, got into his fluffy bed with his blanket made of money, and wiped his tears with a bunch of $100 bills.
Well, and I also guarantee you that, the interesting thing about R-Truth is that I've always believed R-Truth could wrestle very well. He was a great worker, but, he's kind of like a modern-day honky-tonk man. He was able to get a hell of a lot done by doing a whole lot of nothing. And it allowed him to make a hell of a lot of money by barely doing any wrestling at all for the past, save for a couple instances here and there, as will be evidenced by another segment that we're going to revive a little bit later. But but at the same point, it's not like R-Truth was a bad wrestler. Skylar and I did that episode about Ron Killings from NWA, before when we were doing the earlier episodes of the podcast during the pandemic era. And it's not like R-Truth wasn't capable of doing serious stuff and working a serious style, but he made a hell of a lot of money being the epitome of the word brain rot before it became a popular word to use.
He was Shibata before Shibata was Shibata, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, describe, for those of you who have for some reason never seen R-Truth, describe the decline of R-Truth from 2011 all the way through up until now.
Well, actually, 2011 was one of his more, serious years.
That's why I kind of considered that the peak.
Yeah, they turned him heel, and he was very good as a heel, although the zenith of it, or one of the peaks of it, was that match he had with John Cena at Capital Punishment. You remember the Barack Obama impersonator?
Yeah. Yes,
that was a thing that happened.
That was a thing that happened.
Also, on that show, R-Truth and John Cena was actually the worst match on that show. Those two did not have chemistry. It was just R-Truth hitting move after move after move after move after move, and then a kid threw water in R-Truth's face, and then attitude adjustment 1, 2, 3. It was not great.
Yeah, and you know what's ultimately ironic is that what killed that R-Truth heel run was that tag match with him, John Cena, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
You know what else didn't help that heel turn?
Dwayne, I blame you. Go on, go ahead.
Do you remember that one episode of Raw where he came out dressed as a Confederate soldier?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can really I mean, except for all the rest of the, like, the little Jimmy and stuff like that, but that's, like, the one image I always get in my brain when I think about that run.
That right there was a taste of what was to come as far as our good friend R-Truth is concerned. Because then he had a successful, question mark, tag team with Kofi Kingston, where Kofi Kingston was just going through a phase of, I'm going to win the mid-card and tag team belts a lot.
With everybody.
With everyone.
With every
R-Truth
human being on this
people.
roster, I will win tag belts with.
Yes. It's ridiculous how many people Kofi Kingston has won the tag team titles with.
Yeah.
And that was right before that was the team that Team Hell No defeated to win the titles back in 2012, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was right before the New Day got started.
And from 2013 to around 2016, R-Truth was just lower mid-card. Every once in a while, he would challenge like Cesaro for the U.S. title and lose.
Yeah, make a poo-poo pee-pee joke, occasionally. But
then things started to go south, in our opinion, and north, in fans' opinion, I guess. They need to reevaluate their fucking compasses.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. He started, what really made me notice his drawing inclination of, I'm super special, if you know what I mean, kind of comedy, was around 2016, especially when Wade Barrett was the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
That is when goofy R-Truth really started.
That's when the mentality started redacting.
Yeah. And it got worse with every passing year. And then, I can't remember exactly what year it was. It might have been 2019. It started getting really bad when they introduced one of the worst championships in company history.
The 24/7 European I-95 Intercontinental Cheeseburger Salad Championship that he won 58 times, I think. Or some ridiculous number. I don't remember just how many times he won it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Allow me to be Skylar for a moment. Go ramble for a minute.
The only time that was ever funny is when he pinned Jinder Mahal for it on an airplane. That was the only one of those that ever made me half-heartedly chuckle.
54!
Almost as many times as he's been alive on this earth as far as years.
He has a 24/7 title for every year of his life, +1.
Basically. +1. Next year, we'll have
Next
an
year,
even
he'll
tie.
expire. And then he'll be re-signed. Then they'll revive the belt. And then they'll keep it going. But anyway.
You want to know what my least favorite thing about the 24/7 belt was, aside from it existing and being the worst thing on WWE television, and that's saying a lot in 2019?
That stipulation was never going to work without the hardcore aggression that it was founded on. And just doing stupid bits for a title made all titles seem stupid.
What made it so bad for me is because I like the hardcore title, which is funny because I just got rid of the hardcore title on my own show. Go subscribe to TAW Gaming. But the hardcore title, people were clamoring for it to return. And then Mick Foley was all like, we're going to debut a new title. And everyone was like, they're having Mick Foley debut it for a reason. Are we getting the hardcore title? And Mick was like, we're giving you one of the stipulations of the hardcore title, and that's it. And also, it was the ugliest belt I've ever seen in my life.
That was also Mick Foley's cuckolding under Stephanie McMahon, which was not a fun time. As Stephanie just was rotating between... Well, when Kurt finally fought back on Stephanie, so Kurt got fired and replaced her with Mick Foley. And And then that went from him to Constable Corbin, who then got blamed for the recent ratings were down.
I was about to say, and then the ratings got so bad because Raw was so dumpster fire garbage that they shoot and in kayfabe blamed him for it.
And then they fired him and made him a bum.
And that was
which is his best gimmick.
Oh man, the fall and
the saga of Baron Corbin, man. What a
even further descent of Baron Corbin needs to be studied.
Or Bishop Dyer, as his name is now. This is the second.
How does it keep getting worse?
This is the second week in a row that we've had a discussion about this human being. So you know what?
And this is the second time that I've laughed out loud at the name Bishop Dyer.
Bishop Dyer, Dyer.
That might actually be one of the worst names I've ever heard.
He needs to wear like the Pope outfit, but it's all tie-dye.
He needs to Bishop fire his agent.
Yes, well, in any case, but that as far as yelling and screaming and getting fired, that brings me to the next point when it comes to R-Truth. Because honestly, I think R-Truth is ultimately going to sign a Legends deal and not really be gone, because a lot of the talent's really heartbroken about it. There have been a lot.
Now, on that, we will get into the meat of what we really want to rant about.
Yes.
I will say the people I am not mad at, I'm not annoyed with, are the people that actually work in WWE that are upset about this.
Yeah, I mean, he's a locker room guy, he's very beloved in the back, and to lose him that way probably guaranteed sucks. When you lose somebody of that caliber who's ultimately beloved by the boys and girls in wrestling, that's that's one of those things that could hurt morale, and so it's
there have been people that have been kind of freaking out about their own contracts because of this.
Yeah, well,
which is totally understandable.
Well, but hey, at least they're getting told that they're not being renewed. At least that at the very least, instead of just being ghosted like Tony does. There is
no. Tony will ghost you and then add time to your deal and just not put you on TV.
Yeah, there is some level of professionalism. To at least associated with the way TKO is going about this, but it's not just R-Truth. We heard on the same day that Carlito had also not been renewed. And
controversial opinion. I'm more sad about Carlito leaving than R-Truth.
Well, to me, it's kind of the same situation because both guys look great and could do serious stuff and could wrestle, and they just got stymied into just ha-has. My big issue with the whole John Cena Randy Orton match was it ending on a dumb bit. That's kind of what Carlito was resigned to in the Judgment Day. He was just the dumb bit, and Carlito deserves more than that, man. And so, that's one of those situations where it's like, if you're not going to use him in a capacity that's going to really help matters, then just let him go. I think TKO is actually doing these guys something of a favor, especially because they're not getting any younger, and how much money are you going to get from them long-term anyway?
Yeah, and R-Truth doesn't exactly wrestle that often.
No, and hasn't for 10 years.
Exactly.
It's been on and off.
I kind of get why some people are surprised, but I don't know why people are that surprised.
Yeah, and it's like, and I don't, it's not like TKO is saying to R-Truth, we don't value you. But for God's sake, he's 53. I'm sorry. It's like not everybody gets to be Chris Jericho milking the boss.
And he's been there since 2008.
He's been there since 2008.
We talked about this at length. We talked about this at length in our group chat. And I talked about it on one of my podcasts on my channel. Go subscribe to TAW Gaming. It was on one of my episodes of Post TAP. We'll get into the fans in a minute, but there's this idea where firing people is mean.
Yes,
and it's business.
It's just the nature of things. You have to cycle talent. You have to.
It's not even just WWE. When you have Sean, you have a job, right?
I sure do.
I have a job. Skylar has a job. My mom has a job. My brother had a job and then quit and didn't tell anybody about it for months. But that's a different story. My girlfriend has a job. Everyone has jobs. Well, not everyone. A lot of the people that we're going to be ranting about in a second don't, and that's part of the problem because they don't have any real-world experience, and that's where some of this problem comes from. But I've been fired from jobs before. I've quit jobs before. I'm sure you've been fired before. I'm sure you've quit jobs before.
I've been let go, not by legal definition fired, but I have been let go. Yes.
Just because you have a job, that does not mean you're going to have it forever.
Well,
no one has a job forever.
Yeah. We all thought Kevin Dunn would, and not even Kevin Dunn was safe.
Yeah.
You know, and
because the guy that polished his teeth went.
Well, and at some point, you know, you got to ask yourself, especially when it comes to how bloated WWE's roster is already because they're getting bigger and bigger and they're just inflating globally. So they, you know, hungry hippoed a lot of talent. But at the same point, like, you can't just hoard all people and then just have people sit at home. You know, I think it's more honorable for WWE to say, hey, look, go continue to make a name for yourself. Go be famous and then come back, you know, and because that works for a lot of people, you know.
Dude,
and
they're bringing in Ricky Stark. They're bringing Ricky Saints to the main roster. They're bringing Stephanie Vaquer to the main roster. Jordan Grace. They're bringing. There was someone else that they were going. They just brought up Julia to SmackDown. They gotta make room.
Well, and that's just it. And there's a lot of people like I hate to say this, but because I don't want to speak it into existence, right? You know, I don't want to be that one, but I would not be surprised if somebody like one of the three remaining, and I'm not talking Charlotte. I might as well just say it. I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley leaves too when her contract isn't renewed. I think there's going to be a number of people who are respected. Sheamus, another one of these people. Well respected, have earned their salt, have been here for fucking ever.
Yeah.
And it's time. You know, one of the difficult things about the Vince administration is that he would cling to people forever.
Yeah.
And then in later years, he cut like 90 people at once.
It started becoming a reoccurring theme around WrestleMania season. When's Black Friday going to drop?
Well, and this is the thing. It happens with every other sport. You know, right after
it happens with every other company.
Yeah. But right after the regular season ends in football, right before the playoffs start is Black Monday. That's when all the coaches that sucked get fired. That's when all the general managers that sucked get fired. That's when the Jets do something stupid because it's the fucking Jets. But, you know, that's...
Sean.
But it's just part of the process. And it's not like these people are never going to work again. But go ahead.
You know that I'm a Pizza Hut delivery driver, right?
I do know this.
There are people...
I'm still waiting on mine, actually.
Well, I don't work at the one in Connecticut. I work at the one in South Carolina. You know this. We have a radius. I'm not supposed to go outside of it or I'll get stung.
After all the times I've helicoptered into your house and that's the way you're going to repay me. Anyway, we're going to talk about that later.
I told you. Well, you kept every time you helicopter into my house, you forget to leave with your pants. So,
and we'll talk about why at the end of the show. Go ahead.
Yes. But anyway, my point is very kind of similarly. People become like we just hired a new driver the other week, and we lost a driver the other week. Before that, we were hiring drivers, and drivers were leaving or getting fired. It's a system. People come in, people leave. You got to make room.
Turnaround is natural.
And also, there was a dude several months ago who sucked ass. He barely spoke to anyone. He didn't listen to anything anyone said. We found out he was stealing money from customers. And I don't even know how he kept his job for another month after that. And on one of his deliveries, he took 2 hours to deliver a pizza when it should have taken 15 minutes. No one has any idea what he was doing.
Nice.
Should he have kept his job forever? According to the internet, that firing people is mean.
Well, but the difference is like that's an understandable firing, where at this point, you know, R-Truth, was one of the most respected people back in the locker room, and he'd been there for a long time, so it came as such a surprise that a 17 giggity year run in the league of WWE was bound to come to an end. So see, maybe that served a greater purpose too. You know, and it's just, yes, it sucks. And I am surprised. But I don't think this is the last we're seeing of R-Truth in WWE. I think there's a Hall of Fame induction with his name on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt. You know, this might give him some time to do some more music. You know, he still does music. You know, this might give him time to do projects. Like you said, he's living comfortably enough.
Yeah.
And he's 53 and he doesn't have to put his body through a lot. And I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we see R-Truth in WWE. So
people are acting as if he is Squidward in that one episode of SpongeBob. It was like, spare change.
Yes.
Spare change,
and
please.
that brings me to really the reason I even asked to have this podcast. I want to talk real briefly about the response and how we view a certain portion of the fan base in the community, because we've all matured a lot from the time that we experienced our own battle in the trenches, so to speak. As I want to talk about the IWC, the neckbeards themselves, who we have had, maybe like 1 foot on base in association with at most, and now we've kind of just formed a hut on the entire other side of the ballpark. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that the fans have started it's like Triple H committed acts of murder. It's like he is it's like he just ran the WWE out of business because R-Truth got released. It's like this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Not The Rock getting involved and then leaving, and then Cody acting like a bitch in the main event of WrestleMania, Fiend, Travis Scott, and all that. It wasn't the cool down started at the Rumble of WWE from their hot streak by having Charlotte and Jey Uso win the Rumbles, which set us all up and confused all of us. None of that was the reason. No, it's R-Truth not being renewed, which was a decision that Triple H didn't even make. Not his call. But that's why Triple H is ruining WWE.
Dude, for me, it's not even this. This is just the next plateau, I guess. Fans, quote-unquote fans, have been just next level insufferable all
jackasses.
Year.
Yeah.
They have been awful all year.
Yeah.
And they've always been terrible. But for whatever reason, this year there's just been a noticeable spike in how unbelievably delusional, deranged, and just... I have such go-away heat with the IWC right now.
Yeah, and what we didn't know at the time is that they've always had that. But more recently, it's become much more pronounced and much less founded.
Yes, I've seen so much. We want Vince back. Triple H is a racist. I nearly lost my shit when people were freaking out over Dakota Kai getting let go. Who in the world cares about Dakota Kai? I'm sure she's a nice person. She was okay in the ring, but I swear to God, if she was not a somewhat attractive female, that would not have gotten the reaction that got.
It's also a lot of 350-pound white knights trying to think that, somehow defending Milady's fair honor, that is that somehow that's scoring them points.
Those cuts that we got like earlier in the year where a bunch of people like Dakota Kai.
Well, would you like me to read you the list? Because I have the list of everyone who's been released in 2025.
But I do have a point. One of the reasons why, you want to know why some of these women immediately had OnlyFans pages pre-prepared just in case of in case of emergency break glass. It's because of these 300-pound wads of nothing.
Yeah. Who will pay the money?
For a jar of their farts.
Yep. There's a reason that this random-ass HBO girl, Sydney Sweeney, somehow convinced Dr. Squatch to sell a bar of soap that is flavored like her bathwater. What dude wants to smell like that?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Because isn't the point to attract women like that? Why are you trying to smell like these? Anyway.
Do you remember Belle Delphine, Sean?
Sadly, regrettably, yes.
Things have gotten worse since then.
She was the archetype. She was patient zero, really. You know, when it comes to, like, what the general status is. But here's the list. Okay, and I want you to give me on a scale of 1 to 10 their importance in WWE as I name them.
Okay.
Okay, Duke Hudson.
0. I don't even know who he is.
Paul Ellering.
He could have been like a 7 or a 6, but the way they were using him, like a 3.
Yeah, I want the way they were using him. The way they're not what their potential is, just what they were doing prior to this. Akeem or Akim, whichever one you want to. The Authors of Pain.
Occam's Razor.
Sure.
3.
Cedric Alexander.
3. I love the dude, but he was a jobber.
Sonya Deville.
-100. Dude, okay, real quick. Like, me and you are kind of like the Triple H glazers a teeny bit. But one thing about Triple H that he's got to start doing, he's got to start identifying talents that aren't very good. There is no logical explanation as to why Zelina Vega has a championship. There is no reason as to why Sonya Deville should have been brought back last year. Why was she brought back? What match has she ever had that was anything other than garbage? Like, I like Triple H, and I think he's gotten a lot of unfair criticism this year, and that's an understatement of the century.
Yeah.
But he's not perfect, and one of the things about him that kind of annoys me is sometimes he refuses to let people that are obviously terrible go.
Well, he pricked that up from his dad. It's kind of why people are shitting themselves over R-Truth now. Because we had about 5 or 6 years from 2016 to about 2023 where we were like, why the fuck is R-Truth still here?
Yeah.
So this is not new. Alicia Fox, who is considered a WWE legend, was on that roster since 2009. 2008, excuse me, 2008, because she debuted as the receptionist who Edge cheated on Vicky Guerrero with.
I can't tell if that's an upgrade or a downgrade. I genuinely can't.
I think it was her best work. Kissing Edge was a bad.
Well, we know all about how she can arch her back really well.
Yeah, that's about what we've got. Next up, Blair Davenport.
This one was kind of sad because, again, she had potential. She had some, and they just never did anything with her, so she was not very important. So about a 3. And well, what a surprise! She has an OnlyFans. Who could have called that one?
Yeah, Carl Anderson.
I did. 3.
And Luke Gallows, I would say, is probably the same.
Yeah.
Isla Dawn.
Isla Dawn. She was the ginger woman that was tag team partners with
Scottish
Bailey
ginger.
Ray.
Yes.
1. And I'm just saying 1 because I don't like her because she's an idiot in real life.
Giovanni Vinci.
That poor guy. He must have pissed off someone.
Yeah, I don't know where he got his heat, but he must. And I don't know who got him. So
he has the heat backstage that Triple H has with the fans right now. But he was like a 3.
Elektra Lopez.
2.
Carmella.
Irony. 1.
Braun Strowman.
Importance-wise, much to my chagrin and annoyance, he was about like a 7 or 8 because they were actually using him relatively decently to put other guys over.
Yeah.
Like he had a little bit of equity, even though his legs were shot.
Yeah, I would say maybe a 5, seeing how he could barely waddle around.
He still had some, like his feud with Bronson Reed was fun, and his mini feud with Jacob Fatu was also fun. So I'd give him some importance because he helped establish both of those guys in WWE.
Shayna Baszler.
0.
Dakota.
Which is no fault of her, which is absolutely no fault of her own. That
Agreed.
is Vince McMahon's fault.
Agreed. Dakota Kai.
Like a 2 or 3.
Caden Carter and Katana Chance.
About a -4.5.
Cora Jade.
I'm gonna say about a 4 because she's very, very, very young, and she could have been something, but they let her go, and mostly because she's injury prone. Kind of the same thing with Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
Also, would you look at that? She was one. I remember literally everyone was saying, watch her immediately have an OnlyFans account. And guess what happened the next day? She had an OnlyFans account, and no one was shocked.
Wouldn't you know who won the pony?
Yeah.
Gigi Dolan.
Again, she was just about to get called up from NXT too. They had her prepped for some stuff on the main roster, and then they just cut her. So I don't even know how to rank her with that. I guess like a 2 maybe.
Eddie Thorpe.
-7.
Gallus. All of them. This is the one that I know actually causes you some heartbreak.
Because they were good back when NXT UK was a thing for that random couple of years that they had it be a thing until they were like, why do we have this again?
Yeah.
Didn't we win a war against the British? Why are we here? I'd say like from how they I honestly, if you want me to be perfectly honest, I kind of forgot that they were employed.
I couldn't even remember the last time they were on television.
I don't know, like they had some kind of Irish bar fight something back in NXT last year, and that was the last I ever saw them. So, as much as it pains me to admit it, their importance was maybe like a 1.
Yeah. Riley Osborne.
Who?
There you go.
I'm gonna go with a 0 on that one.
Jakara Jackson.
Who?
Understood? Oro Mensa.
What?
Javier Bernal.
Why?
Danny Palmer.
Where?
Who is, I don't know, but she retired, apparently. So she's...
Wait, that was a woman?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, okay.
Dani. She's wearing cheetah print in this particular photo. Thank you to whatculture.com for this comprehensive list.
Guarantee you that the guys at whatculture.com have subscriptions to multiple OnlyFans accounts of their...
Well, this is kind of ultimately like the point that we're trying to make here about the incels that have been just like screaming bloody murder in the basement of their parents' basement.
That make it almost fucking impossible to enjoy watching wrestling.
No, it means that you can't go to any wrestling media and read the comments. Otherwise, you're just going to hate everything involved with wrestling.
Exactly. Part of me wanting to enjoy wrestling is like seeing what some other people are saying, but it is this year especially, it is just always drowned out with this sucks, this company should die, and also Triple H is a racist. Somehow.
Yeah. And the final 3 are R-Truth, who probably is the most important of any of the people that we've listed on this. And considering how marginal he is, how important he is marginally, that's not really saying a whole lot. And same with Carlito.
Yeah.
And now we also know that Valhalla, also known as Sarah Logan, has also been released again.
But that's I think
that's different.
Those were also reports that was mostly because she wanted to be a mom.
Yeah, which totally makes sense. So that's That's but that's the ultimate point here. It's not like Seth Rollins is getting fired. It's not like Braun Breaker is getting fired. These people are doing nothing for WWE, and WWE's doing nothing for them. So mutual partings are they're helpful. They're beneficial to the business. But all of this crying...
You want to know another reason that kind of pisses me off, that I think people are mad that R-Truth got fired or released, or his contract was not renewed? You don't know what? That attitude that me and you both hate, where a lot of wrestling fans are like, but it's supposed to be fun. Why are you taking it so seriously? It's supposed to make you laugh. Why are you getting so upset? It's just wrestling. Those are the people that are upset.
Yeah.
Because R-Truth was funny, ha-ha. They like a little too much funny, ha-ha in their wrestling.
Well, but what they really like isn't wrestling. Exactly. They like everything around the wrestling, which is 3/4 of what the wrestling business is everything around the wrestling. So I'm not trying to decry that by any means. But at the same point, it's very revealing, like, who people will then rally around. And if people are really coming at a racial angle when it comes to R-Truth being released, that is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah. I've seen it, unfortunately. I've been saying Triple H is a racist all year.
But it's really not... I mean, we've been hearing that ever since the Hurt Business left, because they didn't really have anything for the Hurt Business.
Yeah, and that dipshit MVP isn't helping anything with his insipid comments.
Well, and now sadly, now they're one of the few things on AEW that has any sort of interest whatsoever.
Yeah, but I just think it's funny that he's whining about them not pushing Bobby Lashley. Where's Bobby Lashley now? In Sean's favorite thing that he's given up on, tag team wrestling. He's the tag team champions in AEW. Those belts honestly still mean nothing in AEW. He's not closing the shows. He might be one of the more interesting parts of the shows, but he's not anywhere near a world title.
Well, and this is another thing. I mentioned this because I've mentioned how old R-Truth is multiple times already. The big problem with this whole thing is that WWE is ultimately not looking for what's making short-term money anymore. The way that Vince did. Vince was always about what's going to make us the short-term money, while having some idea for the long-term, a la Saudi Arabia and whatnot. But, like, why do you think Brock was brought back so many fucking times? Because it was always a quick draw reaction for quick money. This is not the approach that TKO is taking. They're looking, okay, this guy, in 5 to 6 years, what am I going to be able to get out of this guy? And if it's not a long-term situation, then they're probably not going to want to keep that kind of talent around, especially when they're getting up in age, and you don't know whether they're going to be around to do much of anything anymore. And it's just... The kickback, I truly believe that, most of the people on these message boards need to go outside and touch some grass. Some serious grass touching going on. There is a world...
stay out there.
And
I'm at the point where I'm like, some of these people need to be legally, like, restricted from anything that connects to the internet or has a screen.
Well, and that kind of ultimately is my second point of this. You need to have some other passions besides wrestling.
Exactly.
If you're in the wrestling business, it can be your be-all, end-all, eat, breathe, sleep, piss, shit wrestling. That's fine. But if you were just huffing Doritos, watching the shows, and getting ready to tippity-tap type on your message boards and make a really hyperbolic YouTube title and release a podcast screaming all of your rage onto... maybe this isn't the point I'm trying to make. But ultimately, you've got to figure out some other things to do with your life than just obsess about pro wrestling. Like, you and I have other jobs. We have other passions. We do other things. There is a balance here to where you can understand some level of nuance to where you're not taking a release of somebody personally. But some people are so obsessed with what these companies do that they take it personally. It's Dave Meltzer takes it personally.
Well, he's also like the real life, not actually a gimmick version of what R-Truth was doing.
Yeah. Well, he's the reporter version of it. There's the wrestler version of it, and then there's the reporter version of it. But in any case, it's like I am sad to see R-Truth go, but he's not really gone. He's like Palpatine. He's coming back. Even if you don't want him back, he's coming back.
Returned.
That's right. Return of the Ron. Revenge of the Killings. He's Ron killing younglings. Killing of the Sith. Anyway, but the point is, everybody calm the fuck down.
I know. It is so insufferable. And once again, I said this earlier, I don't know what it is. I did not expect WWE cooling off a little bit this year would result in fans absolutely losing their minds.
It's a meltdown. It is a meltdown, and it's not that bad. Folks, business really is not that bad. It's
like people are acting as if all the good faith that Triple H and the new regime has built up over since late 2022, they're acting like that's seriously being threatened and torn away. When I won't lie, for me personally, it took a little bit of a hit at this year's WrestleMania, but I blame most of that on The Rock.
Me too. As we've litigated a number of times.
And I will say, yes, like it was revealed like the other day that because there were rumors and even Triple H earlier in the year was saying that like SmackDown's move to 3 hours was temporary. Well, they revealed before this past SmackDown that is now going to be permanent moving forward. SmackDown's just going to stay 3 hours because USA Network is terrible.
Remember when Nick Khan said Raw would be 4 hours and everybody laughed? And they said there's no way that they would actually do that. And I was saying, yeah, you fucking watch. You fucking watch this company. You watch them do it. And amazingly, Raw is actually now like 2.5 hours every week.
Yeah, and Raw is usually a good show. SmackDown is kind of lagging because, A, not a lot of interesting stuff happens, and the show's just way too fucking long.
Yeah.
But don't tell USA Network that. They have their fingers in their ear like, la, 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 we like Law and Order, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
But yeah, has WWE made a couple boneheaded decisions this year? Yeah.
Yes.
But it's it is not on fire. The company is not dying. They still are selling out venues and making tons of money, even with the insane price gouging going on right now.
Yeah, and while I do feel that Triple H is hitting kind of a wall at his booking, you can't pin all of this on him. You know how much of this is above his head?
If you are genuinely missing Vince, go touch grass. Go outside.
Yeah.
You do not know what you're talking about.
Well, Jonathan Coachman has reported that Vince wants to buy back the WWE, which would A, not ever happen.
No.
And B, if it ever did happen, that would be the end of the Court-Martail podcast. I guarantee you that, because I would never watch wrestling again ever.
Dude, if Vince bought it back and the show's just nosedived in quality and everyone hated it, our last podcast would be titled, We Told You So.
Yeah.
We warned you.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Yeah. And that ultimately is like, but you know what? We have fallback passions to keep our friendship.
Exactly.
Which
like, dude, I love pro wrestling, but I have other things. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love I still love Star Wars. I'm starting to feel the same way about about wrestling fans as I feel about Star Wars fans.
It's got similar vibes. It's similar vibes. It's just it's different merchandise.
Yeah, but like unlike a lot of wrestling fans, I have a job. I have a girlfriend. I have things outside of, a screen. I'm writing a fucking book.
Yeah. I'm reading books. So,
I'm not, which is funny because I'm writing one. I like writing them. I don't like reading them.
I understand. I've been trying to force myself to read books. I am literally halfway through 3 different books right now. And I'm going to finish all of them before this year is out. And
do you remember when I saw Dune Part 2 and it inspired me to read the Dune book?
Yes.
I'm like 1/20th of the way through the book, and I just kind of stopped because I remembered, God, I hate reading.
Yeah, I've really had to force myself to do it, but it's honestly helping my concentration because the doom scrolling just completely fries my brain sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So reading has been like a great way to counteract that. But then you want to talk about brain rot? Then I force us to watch a match. Roll the intro.
Operator, I'd like to order an ass whooping.
Match of the week. Match of the week. Match of the week.
Now, we have not done a match of the week in a long time.
And this might be the last time we do one.
And ironically, the point I was trying to make here is that because R-Truth was involved in a lot of stupid stuff for 7 to 10 years in WWE, how you and I have not been feeling like it's been such a drastic loss, which we've pretty much described in pretty good length for the past 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of further emphasize that point by bringing something that I didn't love of R-Truth's into the equation. Little did I know he would be the best part of it.
Yep.
It is,
ironically enough.
It is TLC 2018, the finals of the Mixed Match Challenge, where the winners not only get a vacation anywhere around the world, but
we need to show this match to people that are saying we want Vince back. This was Vince.
But also get the number 30 spot in their respective Royal Rumbles.
Oh my God.
Now that's a stipulation I would not have actually hated on the line if this were a serious competition. But this match was...
That would be a stipulation you wouldn't hate until we got to the Rumble and you remember, oh God, I know who 30 is.
If this match were CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, then I'm all for this stipulation. But the matchup was R-Truth and Carmella against Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox.
You didn't say her name correctly,
Sean. WWE legend Alicia Fox, excuse me.
Oh my God, Sean, why did you...
You're the one who just told me I didn't say it right. I had to correct myself.
No, I mean this match. I mean this...
Okay.
What did I do to you to deserve this?
You said yes when I said, hey, do you want to do a podcast?
You're the one that flies helicopters into my house.
And that was enough
to grab your pants.
That's right. Well, that's coming up, folks. Right after this match, we're going to take care of that. But this... Oh man. It started out with a collar and elbow tie-up, shockingly enough.
Before that, though, I did something during this match. Specifically, I did something that I don't normally do during wrestling matches. You see, it all started when we panned over to our commentary team for this matchup. I saw Renee Paquette for 0.5 seconds, and I said, nope, and I muted the match because I'm good.
The second I heard her, I was like, oh, no. But I won't lie to you, she wasn't as bad as Vic Joseph was.
Well, I believe you.
The three-man team of Michael Cole, Vic Weenie Shire, Vince in the Ear Michael Cole, Vic Joseph, and Renee Moxley. Oh boy.
Yeah, I can't provide any insight or analysis of the commentary because I didn't hear any.
Now, I did my best. I didn't write any notes for this because I would not dignify this match with written review. I'm not breaking the match down that thoroughly. They do it a collar and elbow tie-up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It was the weakest ass fucking collar and elbow tie-up I've ever seen. No, I take that back. I've seen Riho do one. So that was the weakest. God bless her little pea-picking heart. But in any case, we get started in this, and R-Truth looked pretty solid. Alicia Fox did a titty slap tag to Jinder Mahal.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, Sean, I can see why Sean didn't like this.
Yep. And in comes Alicia Fox, who was fucking dreadful.
And always has been.
Bowling shoe ugly, as JR would call it. Hope you're doing well. Hope the chemo's going all right. We hope you make a full recovery, JR. Godspeed. Hope AEW didn't literally kill you.
And fuck you, Ric Flair, for that tweet.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was all about.
Ric
Like,
Flair's
why?
an asshole. That's what that's
But
about.
why? Like, what? Anyway, hope you sell a lot of your liquors. But in any case, as soon as the ladies got into this, this was rough. And it wasn't even really Carmella's fault. It was really 9/10 Alicia Fox. I think Carmella was just kind of trying not to die.
Yeah.
What was it? It was either a running shoulder tackle or a fist or a kick. I don't even know what Alicia Fox was trying to go for. But she, like, touched Carmella and flew, like, 4 feet over her. And then Carmella took a bump that landed the other direction.
I know exactly what Alicia was trying. She was trying to do an overcastle slash blockbuster.
And,
The problem is she barely touched her.
Yeah, there was, it was in the vicinity, but not quite there. And the men get back in, and then they do a hot tag. The crowd is, for some reason, kind of into this.
Well, it's the first match they've seen on this evening.
But, R-Truth, and we didn't talk about the entrances, but the what's up and all that, where Carmella was half rapping it with them, it was fine. It was fine.
Can I tell you my favorite thing in this entire match?
Please.
And this won't surprise you at all. Carmella tried to do a head scissors, like, float around takedown on Alicia, and it looked terrible. Then R-Truth did one to Jinder Mahal, and it looked good.
It looked amazing. All of his stuff looked amazing.
And I was like, fuck half of this match.
As he came around and he did the lie detector, but didn't notice that Alicia Fox got the tag. So,
and this is the first time that Jinder Mahal bumped the wrong way in this match.
Yes, as that is a staple of most Jinder Mahal matches. One misdirected bump, at least. Yep. But then Alicia Fox tries to hit R-Truth, or does, but then R-Truth dodges and Carmella hits a super kick on Alicia Fox, rolls her the wrong way for a cover. Alicia Fox kind of tries to do like this Northern Lights bridge pin, but can't hold the legs, so she just kind of lays on top of Carmella, and then they tumble around a little bit, and I don't even remember how Carmella got into it. I think they just got into it just for the sake of just ending the match. The code of silence, and that ended it.
Mercifully.
And mercifully is right. Mercifully for us, at least.
I have 2 notes that you breezed over.
Please.
Before we give our final thoughts. One, the lie detector was the first bump that Jinder took the wrong way. Then R-Truth does his really cool, like, jumping kick where he spins out of it. And once again, Jinder Mahal fell the wrong direction. And I was like, good God, Jinder, what is wrong with you? And for some reason during this match, the Jinder Mahal's little Indian buddies got in the ring, and then everyone started dancing.
Oh, I forgot about the dance break. Oh my God. It has been not even an hour, and I've already repressed it from my brain. The whole reason I chose this.
When that happened, you groaned when you saw Renee. I groaned when this happened. I was like, oh my God.
As soon as they shouted dance break, I'm like, right, this is why I hated these two. This is why. I knew there was a reason that I had a vitriol in 2018 about these two. This was it. Because then the 2 little tiny Indian ones do their thing, and then R-Truth does one with them, which thankfully he leads to throwing out of the ring, so at least there was some level of, makes sense, like when Austin stunned the New Day when they were at WrestleMania. Because that's a Vince humor type of thing. Let me pretend to dance with you and then kick your ass. The dance break thing was just, it's a perfect example of what people forget was a normal occurrence during the
Yes.
Vince administration that we don't get any of now.
Yes, I will take the worst of Triple H over this.
Yes. Yes, agreed. Agreed. Now, I
IWC.
I teased you that there is an insane stat from this show.
I'm afraid.
I'm going to read you the card of TLC 2018.
I think I remember a lot of it.
And
Let's see.
with this card, I want you to see if you can keep track of who is still with the company and who is no longer with the company.
Oh, dear God.
Dark match. Number 1. Hold on here. Or the first match. Buddy Murphy defeated Cedric Alexander for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Not only are neither of them in this company anymore, that title doesn't exist anymore.
Elias defeated Bobby Lashley with Leo Rush by retrieving a guitar in a ladder match.
Oh, I'm so happy with this stat that you realize. Oh, this is going to be entertaining.
Then, the Fabulous Truth, Carmella and R-Truth, defeated Mahalisha, as they're called, Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal, with the Singh brothers, and they count, by the way.
Literally everyone so far doesn't work for this company anymore.
By submission.
Insane.
Match 4, The Bar. Cesaro and Sheamus. We have now found somebody still around. Kind of.
Finally.
Defeated The New Day. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods with Big E and the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Braun Strowman with Apollo Crews, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, Kurt Angle, and Finn Balor defeated Bishop Dyer by pinfall
God, and wasn't that when he had his arm in a sling?
in a TLC match, and Corbin was stripped of all of his authoritative power
Yeah,
because it caused the ratings to go
He
down.
was the reason why Raw sucks, you see.
Yes, that's right. Natalya defeated Ruby Riott with Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan.
Oh, the Riot Squad. Oh, that haunts my fucking nightmares.
Finn Balor defeated Drew McIntyre.
I do not remember this match at all.
Rey Mysterio beat Randy Orton in a chairs match.
I do remember that match.
Ronda Rousey beat Nia Jax with Tamina by submission.
The only good thing about that is after that, Nia went backstage and Becky Lynch slapped the shit out of her.
Daniel Bryan beat AJ Styles.
Wasn't that for the WWE Championship?
It was.
I remember that.
Dean Ambrose defeated Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental title. And then the main event, Asuka defeated Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. So, if you go out and you count all of the people in this whole little scenario, we've got Buddy Murphy's gone, Cedric's gone, Elias is gone, Bobby Lashley's gone, Leo Rush is gone, Carmella and R-Truth are gone, Alicia and Jinder Mahal are gone, the Singh brothers are gone, Cesaro is gone, Braun Strowman is gone, Kurt Angle is technically gone, Baron Corbin is gone, Natalya is kind of gone. She's doing like MMA and she's really like not involved. I don't know if she's definitively released.
Just watch the wailing and gnashing of tears when the day inevitably comes that she gets released. We're gonna go through this entire thing all over again.
Yeah, but we'll say for the sake of this, she's still here. But Ruby Riott's gone. Sarah Logan's gone. Ronda Rousey's gone. Tamina's gone. Daniel Bryan's gone, and Dean Ambrose is gone. If you look at the tally, and the people who have stayed is, hold on, let me get to match 4. Sheamus, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Big E, the Usos, Apollo Crews, Bobby Roode, because he's technically still an agent, Chad Gable, Finn Balor, Natalya technically, Liv Morgan, Finn Balor, as I said, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, Nia Jax, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, Asuka, Becky, and Charlotte. It's 19-19.
Wow.
Half of this show is gone.
That is a ridiculous stat.
So that's just a very interesting line here in the sand for the it points here that it's very close, you know, and this is not counting any other personnel or any people who might have interfered that they don't say here on just, you know, good old Wikipedia, right? Like if you're mentioning like Tyler Breeze was there with like the stuff there and like Ziggler and blah blah blah, and if you start adding that, you start getting more release names than fewer. So it's you know, it's a point of order just to reinforce that you gotta cycle talent. 7 years, and half of that show is elsewhere, and it's not, you know, it's just part of what the wrestling business is. Plain and simple.
Yep.
And thank God we don't get tag matches like that anymore. And Carmella and R-Truth both won the Royal Rumble after that. For those of you who weren't there to watch it. And went on to WrestleMania and won at WrestleMania. You can look that up online anytime. But there's much better things to look up online. Don't you think, JoshAgeddon?
Why do I think I know where you're going with this?
Well, see, you actually brought it there before when you did your little shameless plugs about subscribe to TAWgaming.com. Because
you totally should.
Which you totally should, as well as subscribing to Colonial Impact Wrestling and subscribing to, of course, this channel. Liking and sharing, subscribing, commenting about all of the stuff we've talked about. What are your thoughts on what we've described? What are the memories you love of R-Truth? Why did you like them? Why did you dislike them? Let us know in the comments below. But,
who did you threaten with a gun after you heard that he got shit canned?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Tell me how many Discus servers you were on at once. But in any case, we wanted to take some time. And namely, JoshAgeddon had this idea pitched, and I'm all for it. This is going to get a little self-indulgent, ladies and gentlemen, because one of the things that has cemented our friendship over the years has been the e-feds that we've had. And now we've talked about our respective channels on this program before, and the work that we've put in with that. But because this was your brainchild, I want to let you lead the way here as we talk about what it has been like to experience over a decade of E-Federation wrestling and how it has affected our opinions on how we view professional wrestling as a whole as well.
Well, first, before I really get into it, I do want to say we actually did an entire episode several years ago exclusively about E-Fed wrestling. It was like, and the Superstar of the Week, quote-unquote, was the Magnation itself. We did a Magnation match of the week.
Yes, we did.
It is still on the channel. I can't remember what year we did it, but we did it a couple years ago. Go listen to it and listen to how squeaky our voices are. So, yeah.
But we're not Mickey Mouse. We were not bastardized by Disney.
No. But anyway, just to briefly relitigate some of our history, me and Sean actually became friends over E-Fed wrestling.
Yes.
We were fans of the Magnation. Sean was like, I'm going to do a show. And I was like, I'm going to do a show. And Sean was like, no, you hang up first. And I was like, no, you hang up first. And then neither one of us hung up. And we're still on this podcast here today. We still struggle to figure out who's
nothing has really changed in all those years.
No. No.
So,
except we've both gone a little bit more insane. I made TAW, Totally Awesome Wrestling, which has actually gone through 3 different channel names. Remember back in the early days when it was Totally Awesome Wrestling TAW?
Wow. Yes, I do. Barely, but yes, I do.
God, that was a mouthful. And do you remember when I briefly changed it to JoshAgeddon Asylum?
Yes, I do.
And that just straight up sucked. And I was like, You know, what would really help with the algorithm? Honestly, some people are like, why do you call it TAW Gaming? Why don't you just call it TAWG? First, because TAW just sounds stupid. And also, I was like, that was honestly one of the first decisions I made with the algorithm in mind, because literally just putting the word gaming in the title would help people that are interested in gaming find it.
Yeah, having a base subject of what you're doing makes a difference. From honestly, a YouTube standpoint, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and honestly, I just like the way TAW Gaming sounds. It's simple. You know what you're getting. It's not convoluted. It's not too much to say.
Absolutely.
And me and Sean, we a lot of this we already talked about in the episode that I just plugged from a couple of years ago. But we would basically send like test footage back and forth to each other.
The house shows.
Yeah, the house show era of me holding up my shitty little iPod to the screen and Sean having his TV at one corner of his screen.
Using my laptop camera to capture the...
Our early stuff, don't go watch it. Especially mine. My early stuff is beyond atrocious. Actually, my stuff, like, funnily enough, when like the production value of my show got better when I actually started using recording equipment, the audio nosedived. Because I didn't know how to properly like turn this down so you can hear me talk, but don't have it sound this loud because I don't want to deafen my audience.
Yeah.
2014 to 2017 TAW is very much a no-go zone, in my opinion. Don't.
Hey,
you will cry.
It killed my programming. not your show killing my programming, but those years killed my programming. You know, similarly, you know, it was, as you and I have discussed at length, the me want have, but neither of us really had the resources necessary to provide the product that we had in mind.
Dude, when I started TAW, I was still in high school.
Yeah, I was in college, and you know, I was doing it with my buddies, you know, Smooth Jazz and Abizzle. And Abizzle, who's appeared a few times on this program, from going to Raws and a certain circumstances. But in any case, mine started with my laptop thing, and then I would just be recording as I was playing the game. I was just recording the commentary as I was doing it and drinking. You know, because I was playing the drinking game that I made for it, you know. So, and it's, you know, I got this endorsement from the Mag Nation, which of course way inflated my ego, and the camera quality was just such ass. And while there was, and I don't want to say that all of my commentary was bad. It was just I was so young, and I also didn't have like the concept of how to really put a show together and what role I was supposed to play, so I was making a lot of mistakes in regards to like having a personal bias
we were very green.
We were very green, and it was very personal, and you know, and we alluded to it before about the Smarks taking all of the things that happen in wrestling so personally. That was kind of what our shows were, is that it was much more about us than it was the show.
Yeah, but in our defense, we were in high school and
we were young
at the time.
We were super young. Yeah,
we were shiny little ducks that hadn't quite wandered on into the great unknown just yet.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that you and I both had an incentive to get better.
Yes.
You know, and I think that ultimately helped. I mean, it took just overblowing my wad and then taking 3 years off, and then during the pandemic, actually right before the pandemic, I did it right before that was even going to be a thing, relaunching my program, and then we've just been keeping going ever since, because it's been a great thing for, it's just been fun to do. It's been an incredibly fun thing to do, and it's a great way to let, I think, the way, you know, how we had on this show, and on TAW Gaming, the SCCG, we did the fantasy booking and ACPW and NWL. It's another creative outlet that allows us to share our passion for wrestling without necessarily having to be personally attached to what goes on in the actual world of professional wrestling.
Yes, but back to the improving thing. My whole philosophy, even when I first started, it did not take me long to stop recording with an iPod to upgrade to actually having recording software. And I would try new things. What does work? What does not work? Because my attitude is, I can't remember who said this, and I'm not going to say the phrase, I'm not going to be able to say it verbatim, but basically it was, don't ever be satisfied with what you did yesterday. Do it better the next time. Right. Doesn't matter how good it is. And I look at stuff I did a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have done that better.
Yeah.
I could have done this better. Never be satisfied. Never stop. And even if there's literally nothing you could improve, find something.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because you never want to find yourself in a rut or feeling stagnant about what you do.
Yeah.
And to some it comes more easily to some people than others. I think that by nature I have a relatively creative brain. You know,
Same.
I'm a musician. You know, I compose music. I write an album. I'm not going to get into the entire plug of AB Productions CT, a new era in entertainment, because you've heard it many times before, and the link is in the description. And so it's all there, and there's more album stuff coming as we've now resumed recording and we've rebuilt the studio after computer failures really held us back for the better part of a year, but now things are coming back up, so stay tuned. You're going to be getting a lot more plugs about AB Productions CT going forward, but for right now, we'll give you a quick 30 seconds. But as somebody with a creative brain, and somebody like you who also has a creative brain, it's easier for us to go, and sometimes as a detriment, to be our own biggest critics, but at the same point, we can go, let's continue crafting this. You know, everything is a working document. It's a living document. It's not something that just drops or tapers off or just, flat lines. We may have stalls, but we find ways to work all of these things out and through, whether it's issues with audio and visual, or whether it's issues with what, the commentary was, or some other level of production. And I should have booked that better. I've fallen guilty of that a couple of times myself,
Or the good old, oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yes, yeah, or let me completely jumble up the rules of something like that, or just misspeaking, or, maestroing the suplex.
Or what I did a couple weeks ago, I recorded an entire episode of Soul Calibur 3, and it was a 40-minute block of footage. 2 minutes into it, I accidentally turned my microphone volume all the way up, and I didn't notice it for 20 minutes. So for 20 minutes, I sound like this.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And it was unsalvageable.
Yeah. That's never any fun. And and it goes to speak also too, because it's one thing to have a passion, but I think it's another to have some sort of proactive use for it.
Yeah.
Where a lot of these people who are screaming about our truth, all they're doing with their passion is just hating on Triple H.
Yeah.
They don't have
no creative outlet whatsoever.
They don't have a place for it. And in a lot of ways, it could be just as a result of, a lot of people use WWE and pro wrestling as their escape from the world. So when it's not what they like,
fucking religion.
Yeah, well, that's just it. And don't get us wrong, e-fetting takes a lot of time.
Oh my god! The amount of time.
A lot of time.
Dude, I cannot tell you how much of my life has been dedicated to watching a video that I've edited load.
Yeah, you can, dude. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you'd be talking about.
Dude, if you've, to those of you listening, if you've never like edited a video before and you would like to start, just, you have no idea the amount of loading you are going to have to endure.
Well, just the spark notes on the process. This is my process for just getting the footage. I use a camera. The camera has an SD card in it. I put the SD card into a USB SD card adapter after I record all my footage. I put that into one computer. I download I open up the SD card. I rename everything based on whatever it is I'm doing and whatever match it is. I then put all of those files into a Google Drive and wait for them to load into Google Drive. Then when they're done, and keep in mind the word wait, you're going to hear that a couple of times. Then once those are all finished, I delete them all from the SD card so I can keep filming with it, remove that, then I move to a different laptop, the one that doesn't have functioning USB ports. Then I zip file all of those files and wait for all of them to zip and download. Then I take all of those files and put them onto my other laptop where I open them up and I wait for all of the zips to unload. Then I move all of those files into the main folder of raw footage. Then I open up QuickTime to convert all of those files because they won't work in the editing software that I have on that laptop. So I open up QuickTime and export every single piece of raw footage into a different version that will be editable by that editing software and wait for all of those, which could, depending on how much I'm filming, could be either 3 videos or 31 videos.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer the video, the longer it takes to render.
Yep.
Then I take all of those and import them into my editing software and wait for them to import into the editing software. Then is the very quick process of editing, which was a joke. For those of you that, I'll insert a laugh track or something later on, but that was a joke because the quick part of editing is the longest part of the entire damn thing.
Yes.
All of the in-betweening and the transitions and the audio leveling and the color correction.
Dude, the worst part for me is syncing up the audio that you record for the commentary correctly.
Oh, that takes so long. Yeah, I'm not even at that part of it yet.
It's so annoying.
Oh, it's so much in-betweening. It's so much in-betweening, and you have to expanding and cutting tools, and God forbid you don't click the right file and you press the shortcut to cut, and then something way back at the beginning of the timeline cuts, and you have to undo it and relocate where you want to cut, and yeah. And then it's exporting the file that doesn't have the commentary on it into a full-blown movie file and waiting for iMovie to take care of that, which could range anywhere between 10 minutes and 12 hours. I shit you not.
I believe it.
And then I wait as I upload it to YouTube to then do the commentary for it. Take it off of YouTube because it's not listed. Then do exactly what you said and sync up the audio and all of that. Add intros and outros. Re-export it now as a finalized video. Wait for it to finish the finalized video, which, depending on how much storage is in iMovie at any given time, could range from 1 hour to 22 hours. And then wait until it uploads to YouTube in the finalized version to when we can actually have it air and you can all enjoy the wonderful program that CIW brings you. That's the Spark Notes version.
Fans, go to Sean's house and give this man a massage. Like, damn.
Yeah, that's
as someone who has been editing and uploading and recording and commentating and editing and recording and editing and commentating and uploading and downloading.
It's a lot of time.
For 11 years at this point, I understand that pain. Like my bones were creaking and cracking hearing all of that.
But there's a reason we do it, though.
Because honestly, it's about the finished product and people reacting to it.
Yeah. And, you know, we have a great little group of fans who are definitely a quirky bunch.
Yes.
To be sure. Who are all wonderful folks, I'm sure. Well, mostly. But it's...
Except for you. You know what you did.
Except for, yeah, but I did that and I'd do it again. And but that's a story for another time. But it's nice celebrating 10 years of doing this, you know, as we've grown and learned how to do things. And that's ultimately it. While Triple H had NXT for a long time, this is year, what, 2.5?
Yeah.
For Triple H, and really just 1.5 of him having full control. Give this man some time.
Yeah.
To work through these kinks. You know?
Put this in perspective. He's had, like, what, 2.5 years? Vince had 40.
Yeah. And 20 of them were okay to really good, and 20 of them were bad to really bad.
With an occasional good to keep us in the toxic relationship just a little bit longer.
Yeah. That we all eventually abandoned at WrestleMania 38, which is universally hated by both the fans and the boys.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Seth Rollins talking to Chris Van Vliet and the disgust that came out of his mouth when he mentioned WrestleMania 38.
That show sucked.
That show was so bad. Oh, man.
Yeah. The worst wrestling show I've ever watched.
Yeah. And you know, and that's the thing. It's R-Truth getting fired is not WrestleMania 38.
No, not even close.
You know, so this is one thing where and while we have been shamelessly self-indulgent here when it comes to our programs, you know, I believe that CIW for me has allowed me to view wrestling from a much more practical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's allowed me to see, you know, sometimes when you are putting a show together that you do have to change things on the fly. Like, oh, you know what? This is my original plan, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to work now. Or somebody gets more over than you think, and then you have to figure something else out. Or what's happened to me even recently. I have a lot of people that have been on my show for a long time, and I just don't have shit for them to do anymore.
But Sean, firing people is mean.
But, you know, cycling talent is necessary.
And you never know when some random person like Jimmy Corderas is going to be the top draw.
and then you have to main event him in your 300 subscriber special. But, you know.
Which, by the way, Sean, congratulations on CIW getting to 300 subscribers.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been, and you know, we've been doing the same stuff for so long, but like, we do try to change the way that I edit. Like, I do change different things about the show to try to keep it fresh. Different match types, different stipulations, you know, whatever the case is. A different tournament that ended up being very practically fruitful as far as views and subscriber count is concerned.
Well, that's just because you didn't have any tag team matches in it.
That's right. And the fewer the better, as we've come to learn. But while I now sob into a lean cuisine,
it's okay, Sean.
We are going to take our first commercial break. But the bottom line of this entire podcast, this is basically 90 minutes of us telling the IWC to shut the fuck up.
Basically, yeah.
You know, this ain't it, bruh. This is not the thing to get this upset about. You know, when
you want to see a wrestling company that's been falling apart for years, it's the other one.
Yeah, because they can't even find a way to make good on this negative publicity that WWE is getting.
Yeah, like WWE is getting shit on so hard, and still no one cares about AEW.
Well, and that's also because they're directly running shows against all of AEW's major shows too, which
is, in my opinion, fucking hilarious.
Well, Tony Khan begged for them to take him seriously, and then they start running shows against him, and he goes, "That's not fair. No, not like that."
It's like when you're playing like soccer or football or basketball, and like the annoying toddler comes over and he's like, me want to play, and you just start, and you get annoyed and you're like, all right, fine, and you just start schooling
Whipping his ass.
yeah. You want him to cry and leave.
Yeah. Well, speaking about crying and leaving, I'm going to take this lean cuisine and begin my sobbing ritual over the death of tag team wrestling. But folks, we have got Money in the Bank to watch. I'm going to try and get through all of it this year. And
you can do it, Sean.
But we also have the Lucha show that they're going to do, and I might see glimpses of that. We'll see what we see. But stay tuned, because that's this weekend, which means that we're going to have to talk about it. So, Josh, again, thank you for this. Definitely a spectrum of discussion here, but another great episode of the Court-Martail podcast. Could not have done it without you.
I'm on T-Mobile, but thanks for trying.
That's right. Well, in any case, now that they are going to be asking us for either a cease and desist, or they will be asking for a sponsorship spot, which they will not be getting, I am going to just begin crying, and we'll be right back right after this tag team wrestling. We'll see you later.
Hi.
Folks, we were about to end this show, and we found some very interesting news that we felt like we had to add. Roll that intro! So it turns out that Ronald the Truth Killings, in a shocking move that has stunned the world, has joined the likes of Cora Jade and Lacey Evans. And while we have criticized those ladies for their decisions, I will not criticize R-Truth, because times are tough. But R-Truth has an OnlyFans.
Oh my God. No. The reason why this is okay.
This is amazing.
It's because it's obvious why they're doing it. It's also obvious that Truth is doing it just to make people laugh. Dude, when you texted our group chat that, I started spam messaging you. Answer your messages. We have to add this now.
We have to add this. So this is maybe the first PS that you've ever heard. And breaking news at the time of recording. By now, I'm sure you've all already subscribed to it. But as JoshAgeddon now needs a ventilator, we just wanted to make sure that all of you knew what's up. Apparently Ron Killings. So go subscribe to Ron Killings OnlyFans. That plug's on us, not up your butt, Ron. But we'll see what it's like in 6 months. So, you know, you do what you gotta do. You do what you gotta do. Oh man. We'll be right back.